Hello, everybody. Here we are post-exam, and uh, we still have a week worth of the next chapters already in process. So you should be already reading the chapter 4 on socialization, and I'll have a few discussion board items this week, and uh, also a couple of some videos off of YouTube for the chapter on socialization. The chapters begin to become even more specific now as we continue on. When we start looking at certain some of the sort of specialty areas within sociology. For example, sociologists tend to specialize in some of these areas. For myself. My background would be in sociological theory, but also race and ethnicity. When we get to that chapter, is definitely one of my specialties, as well as stratification, social inequality, and culture. So those areas is really the heart of my background in sociology. And other areas are other sociologists' specialties. So you get a little. That's what introductory sociology is about. On one level, is to give you a little dabbling of all the different areas that sociologists tend to specialize within. Um, so before we start with chapter 4, I want to say a few things about the first exam. Uh, Several things. One is that usually the first exam is sort of lets you see what it's all about, and so I'm not always shocked when I see some lower grades on the exam, but and I'm not shocked either when I see very low percentages. So when it's like when you're getting 20 to 30% on a out of 100%, that basically what it says to me, and each of you has to reflect on your own your outcomes. But for me, somebody's not really reading that much or studying when you're making 20 and 30%. I just don't see how that can, even if you just read the chapters, you should have been able to do at least 50%, unless you had some kind of technical difficulties with taking the exam. So let's start there. First of all, in terms of your computer, your hookup, the speed of your computer, those issues are not my concern. Can't be for obvious reasons. I'm not a computer analyst or a technician. So if you're having any difficulties with for example, the speed of getting from one question to the next, and you need to call immediately. You need to get in touch with the folks in the help desk and let them tell them what your problems are that you're having, and let them lead you to the people you need to talk with, because that's their job, is to help take care of those computer issues you may have. Um, so again, I'm not responsible for your hookup. I'm not responsible for the weather conditions, the speed of your modem or your browser. Sometimes there are browser issues, and I always try to tell my students up front, if you've got any issues, call help desk and make sure your computer's up and ready and fit to take exams and to do this kind of course. Some students they realize that they don't have the best sort of setup, and so some of them will actually come to the campus, take their exams on campus, where maybe they can get to a little faster computer, because it's gonna be a necessity for you. Uh, Online format's a different format. It's a different beast altogether in terms of education. Well, many of us on this side of the fence are dealing with issues and trying our best to make it as personable as possible for you, such as these kind of videos that I'm providing for you. Is I do this because a lot of people don't do it. Professors, not everybody provides this, but I feel like it gives us a chance to have some personal communication. At least you get to see your professor talk about some of the concepts Otherwise, it's a very distant. I guess why they call it distance education. On one hand, it's very distant, both in terms of space, but also in terms of the intimacy of in terms of communication. So some of us are trying our best to recreate an in-class experience as much as possible through a medium that really makes it impossible. So we're doing the best that we can, and for students, uh, you know, students have different learning styles, and there's certainly certain learning styles it's necessary, I guess, for online instruction. Students have to be one thing. You have to be is you got to be totally self motivated because you're not really in a classroom. I can't say much more than send out emails and tell you to study and give you some hints of what's going to be on the exam, the format of the exam, and it's up to students. I've said in email that it's the familiarity with the concepts. If you're just reading through and you're not really studying the material, you're kind of banking on that just one read through or looking at the core concepts or just checking out the videos or whatnot or PowerPoints is enough. It's not. I'm telling you now, you won't pass the class if you've got that kind of attitude. I'm not saying all of you did because some of you did very well on this first exam. So this is another aspect of this kind of course. Of course, this is the same thing as well for in class, and that is that this is not an individualized instruction format. So while I do my best to take each student's concerns into consideration, I can't teach you individually. That's not the kind of this is not an independent kind of course format. So I've got a whole class of students. Like in any class, I had high grades. Student right at A average, 88% on the first exam, which is really great. Considering we got 4 exams, the first exam may be tougher because you don't know what my tests are like. Now you do kind of know what they're like, right? So I had higher grades. I had a good many middle grades. Upper C's, B's. But then I also had a host of D's and F's, and this is not an individualized instruction course. I can only instruct it in certain ways so that I satisfy everyone. And but I do take your concerns to heart, and I try my best to help you as much as I can. One advantage you have over in class is most in class students don't have any notes to work with. They take the same exams, but they don't have the book in front of them to open. They don't have the notes. They don't have the videos. So in some ways you have an advantage in that respect. In terms of time, I give you more time on the online than I'm giving my students in class. So I think that well compensates for the fact that we're not in class. So you have all that at your there for you. I can give you these study guides. Basically, when I put the list of concepts, by then you should know all of them pretty much by heart by the time we get to that point anyway. So I'm just listing those as sort of a hint to you. Hey, the concept of socialization is going to be on the exam. What's the definition? Give me some examples of it. So the way I used to study for my I'll say up front that I was a straight A student in sociology. I never made less than an A in any of my sociology classes. That means that's undergrad and graduate school. And the way I studied for my exams was I read the chapters 2 times. I didn't read it one, and I had, like you guys, I had a full load of coursework, and I worked outside of class as well. But I always read my chapters twice. Quickly, I'd read through it one time just to get a feel for it. Then I'd go back and read it again. Then I would take some people are tactile learners, and I'm that kind of learner. So I would take a pen and piece of paper or notebook, and I would go through writing the concept. I wouldn't just read the definition and read examples. I would write them down, because in that act of writing, that really helped my memory. and getting these under my skin. Sometimes, especially in sociology, but other social sciences that are based on concepts and theories, you have to really get them under your skin. You can't just surface. I say that, but I mean you also have the ability to use your notes and. But let me say something about that aspect, because I think, and I'm not saying that any of you students have this attitude, but I've had some that send me emails because they had taken this kind of course format for granted, that this was basically a course that you needed more time. I've had a direct question before. I need more time. Why don't you give us more time so we can look up the answers? And that really, I mean, that was a really stab in the heart for me as a professor, for a student to think that my course that we spent all this time in training and think of ourselves as professional, to think that I'm offering this course so you can just look up answers and walk away from it without it having any impact on your life or your thinking process, thinking more critically about society, just robotically looking up answers. That's not going to happen. You won't be able to pass my exams doing that kind of. If you feel that that's going to be the way that you're going to approach it, the way you'll be able to pass these exams, you have to get these concepts under your skin, take them seriously, know the definition, know how to tell the difference between concepts. I say the importance of knowing the difference between concepts and examples is because, as you just have had the experience, is that when you look at a multiple choice question, multiple choice question, and you've got a series of concepts there that you got to choose from, you've got to know them, and you got to have it under your skin, and that's the way I approach this very course. This is a university course. I've had emails about that this is a general ed course and shouldn't be so hard, and that's not, I don't even like to hear those kinds of comments, because it is what it is. It's sociology. It's an academic discipline, and you have to put the time and effort into the course in order to do well. So, my suggestion is, if you didn't do too well on this first exam, it kind of gives you a little indication that you're going to have to put in some more effort. That's the way I had to do it. If I didn't do too well, I had gotten it down to where I knew when I was going to make a B. Be honest with yourself when you're studying these concepts, these chapters, and ask yourself honestly: do I know this material? Do I really know these concepts? Test yourself. Lay up and put the concepts in a list, and then, like I do for you, put them down in a list, and then look at each one, and without looking at the book, know the definition. If not word for word, the gist of the definition of what that concept is, and think about examples that you can give off the top of your head after having studied enough. Give examples that would fit that concept from the book or from what I talk about here in the videos. And be honest with yourself. How much do I really know? And if you're honest with yourself, you'll know. I might make a D or a C right now because I really don't know these and I haven't spent enough time. And then, if you approach all of your coursework that way, you'll know when you're going to make an A or B in general, so it can be done. And the students in the class that made the higher grades, they if they were here, I would ask them to ask them what they had to do to get a higher grade. 9 times out of 10, they simply say we read the chapters and spent time with the concepts. And if you do that and let those concepts get under your skin to where you know them, that's called discipline. You got to discipline yourself to learn, a new language almost, right? So sociology is definitely not a crip course. It's difficult material, and it's like learning a new language. So you're going to have to put in the time. And, I never suggest to students that they drop my class or because I want you to stay. I want you to do well, and I want you to succeed. But if you get one exam, two exams in, and you really feel like you're not going to be able to pass the material, then maybe it is best to take it at another time. If this is your first time online, and you have problems with online instruction, then maybe it's not your cup of tea. Think about it. It's your responsibility to decide whether or not you should drop a course or take classes in class instead of online. I can't make your mind up. Everybody learns differently, and it's unfortunate that because we have a large number of students, I can't individualize instruction. So that's on your side. Now on my side, um, I may do things a little different for the next test. Uh, I don't usually do this. One thing that we have to be concerned about on our side is, and again, nobody in my class, and I'm not saying this is directed at any of you, but one thing we do have to take into consideration is that students do have access to their books and materials. So, how much are you learning? How much is just taken out of the book? So that's why I have a time limit on the exam, and I'll continue to have that time. In fact, I may even cut 10 minutes off if I'm going to do this next thing. But I'm considering for this class and for my two online classes in intro to see if this will help some of the grades that weren't all that great. Some of you that were struggling, I'm going to make it so that you can backtrack. So what I'll do is I may have it set up where you just see the whole exam all at once, and then you can go back and forth and get the answers and do the exam, get them done. Maybe it would be to your advantage at times to be able to skip a question, go to the next, and then come back. So on my side of the fence, I'm willing to negotiate that, and let's see if that doesn't help. Now, I'm not speaking to all students in the class because I had students that were successful this time. Very first exam, they've done very well, and I ask you just to continue doing what you're doing, and you're on the right road. Next exam, you study a little bit more intense, and you'll probably even do better. And I say that to all of you, that the first exam's the first exam. Take it as sort of a wake-up call of what it's about and the kinds of questions, and then put more time into it. The other thing is I ask you to send me emails if there's questions that you may have on a concept or area of theory. Email me and ask me, hey, I don't really understand this particular concept or this concept or that, and could you give me any more clarification on exactly what is meant? And I'll be glad to do it. Sometimes I may be busy. I teach 6 classes this semester, so I'm not going to be always. I try my best, and I think most of you have seen that. I generally email you back well within time frame that's would be considered normal, and I will do so, but it may not be right away. But lastly, some students didn't even show up for the exam. I can't help you. I don't know what really to say about that. We'll just have to see. Well, I don't know if you've dropped the course already or what. I'd like to know. But missing the exam days is unexcusable. Just and not even email me. Just being totally oblivious. If you're that oblivious about what's going on in the course material at this point, I really don't see why you would stay, because if you don't even know when the exam days are and you're not keeping up, you're not going to pass the course. You're just wasting your money. So just think about what I want you to stay. You can stay in the class. There's makeup. You can still make up some points. You got 4 more exams. At the end of the semester, I have an extra credit little exercise I do give you guys to do, and it basically is to cover a chapter that we did not cover within the course time, and so I allow you to do that for some extra points. Also, if you do better, if you do your discussions, that's why I tell you guys, hit your discussion board, put your name, let me see your name on there, do your comments. Because in the end, that's going to make a difference. That really does. It really impacts how I judge your interest in the course. Instead of complaining about doing the discussions and the readings, you do them out of interest, and you show up and you put your name down there, and you put your 2 cents in the comments on the articles and the videos, letting me know that you're engaged. That's makes a big impact on me when it comes down to whether or not to give a student a few extra points here or there. So I do take the first exam into consideration. If you guys that are if you begin to improve, over the next 3 exams, you're improving, doing better. I believe in the glass being half full, not half empty. So, I'm willing to take a little bit into consideration. That you've been engaged in the class and that you're coming along, and that you've improved since the first exam. I'll take that into consideration, and I think that you can ask other students that have me. I'm open in terms of that. I want my students to succeed, but on the other end, I'm not going to I don't give out grades. I'm just the scorekeeper, and so what you get is up to you. I can't help you in terms of that part of it. And again, I can't provide individualized learning formats. I wish we could. And there's some classes you can get that's taught on an independent basis, but we have to. Our concern is for each student, but us also as a class as a whole. So I have to take in consideration not only those who aren't doing well, but hey, what about the students that are doing just fine? I've got to make sure that they're being challenged enough with the material and that they're learning something. And so take all what I've had to say to heart, and let's go ahead and move on into our next chapter on socialization. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this first one and start a new video. So I'm coming right back with part 2. Alrighty.